Hello! Today I want to talk about the people in your neighborhood. Do you remember that Mr. Rogers song? These are the people in your neighborhood, the people that you meet each day. I have always had such fulfilling relationships from, I guess, what some people might call shallow interactions with people in my neighborhood. So if you follow objective personality, I have play last. I'm consume, sleep, blast, play. And that play last causes me to feel extremely drained by human interactions. In general, I don't want to get involved with people. Sometimes if I'm feeling like really social, I will think, oh, wouldn't it be fun to collaborate with someone? But every time I try to collaborate with people, it becomes complicated in ways that I never could have imagined. I find that it's always easier for me to just work alone and just feel really drained by collaborating with people or getting too involved. Now, of course, I have my special people where I go deep. Sometimes I meet someone and I just know this is someone that I'm going to go really, really deep with. We have a more intimate, deep communication. But when I'm out and about, first of all, leaving my house is draining. So I would say overall, it's more draining than renewing. But there's this nice balance, healthy medium where I go out and I'm prepared for the chaos in the outside world, and I put on my best attitude and like go to the grocery store or the post office or whatever, and I see some of the regular people in my neighborhood. It's so refreshing, and the conversation might not even go that deep, or sometimes it maybe does go a little bit deep, but these are just the people in my neighborhood that I encounter. And I remember being this way even way back in high school. I went to a private high school that was also a boarding school. I didn't live there, but a lot of the kids lived on campus. And I remember really being an observer, and there were definitely popular kids. It wasn't cliquey in like a mean way, but there was just a core of kids that were like more charismatic, maybe more like SF cool kind of people. And I loved them, but I wasn't really on the inside, and I wasn't really even aiming to be on the inside. I was just sort of observing as an outside. I was observing and listening and kind of following, and I cared about these people. And I feel that way now. I get so much fulfillment from just kind of brief, casual relationships. Like my massage therapy clients are one example. We don't always go that deep. I mean, with some of them we do. Sometimes the conversations are really deep and philosophical if they're inclined that way. But others, it's just, what you've been up to. We know what project have you been working on lately. And I get so much fulfillment out of that, where if I was any more involved than that, it might be really draining. But what I've noticed during the pandemic is that even for me, it's less socializing than I'm used to. I like it. I feel like I was made for this. I was made for the pandemic lifestyle. There are fewer social obligations, and I feel like more comfortable with that. But I noticed this really weird phenomenon. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but since the news has been really interesting lately in 2020, it's like, oh my gosh, a week's worth of news packed into the span of 3 days. That's just like crazy roller coaster. But I'm listening to NPR a lot, and I noticed this really weird phenomenon. I have been listening to NPR my whole life, and suddenly, all of a sudden, when I'm hearing the voices and listening to the names, I stop what I'm doing and I go to Google and I look them up to see an image, because like I just all of a sudden have to know what Scott Simon looks like, or Terry Gross. I've looked her up before because she's so compelling, so I know what she looks like. But just the, local and national news personalities, I've been looking them up because I really want to match an image to the audio so I know who I'm listening to. Something that I found so heartwarming. It's so heartwarming, it kind of almost makes me crack. Lately, a lot of the NPR news personalities are working from home. They're clearly in their homes, and you can hear the jingle of their dog tags in the background, or sometimes their dogs bark. And also more and more, they're more relaxed because they're in their own homes. And so like they'll get the hiccups and stuff. I heard this twice this week. I've heard it, more than that during the pandemic, but just this week in the last few days, separate, news anchors got the hiccups. And I don't know if it's because they're just more relaxed because they're in their own homes, or maybe like the time that they ate is closer to the time that they're working because they're at home and they're like, oh, I don't have to work for another 12 minutes, so I'll just eat, some more pasta. So maybe they're eating like some pasta with something spicy pepperoni in it, and like they just suddenly get the hiccups when they're on air, and they kind of recover from it, in a professional manner, but it's, maybe they're slightly embarrassed. I don't know if they find it embarrassing or not. I just find it so sweet and so endearing. I've always loved little details about people. There's a really charismatic checker at the local grocery store that I go to. I wonder things like, what kind of coffee does he like? And, how does he like his coffee, with sugar or with cream, or just little things. I find these little details to be so endearing about people, but I don't really want to get more involved than that. I run to the post office every morning because I'm selling things on Etsy. So I load up my backpack with all the orders that have come in, and I get my dog and we just run to the post office. It's pretty close by. But I see this same guy on the run every morning, and he just lives in that neighborhood and he's walking, and we always like wave at each other. I have no idea what his name is. I'll probably never have a conversation with him unless, I don't know, maybe I will. Maybe one day I'll stop and chat with him. Those kinds of interactions are very fulfilling to me. I do have, like I said, deeper relationships with some people. I'm just very selective. But I really love those brief encounters with just characters in the neighborhood. And the thing about the NPR newscasters, I just thought that was kind of an interesting phenomenon, that, I hear them hiccup or I hear their dog's tags jingle in the background, and it just makes me feel so much more connected to them, that I know that they're in their homes. And we watch John Oliver every Monday. We watch it on a replay every Monday night, and just knowing that probably John Oliver is wearing sweatpants, underneath his desk, he's got like his dress shirt up on top. You can tell that he really cares about his show, and he's always really cared. But during this time when so many people are struggling and he's probably in a home studio, it just seems even that much more sincere. Just knowing that, he's really doing it because he cares, and, it's all stripped down. There's no high production values. It's just about the message. One more thing I'll say about that, I've always felt like really brief encounters that maybe seem shallow from the outside could have a whole lot more going on. So imagine that you are in a building in an elevator, and you get into an elevator with somebody and nobody says anything. It's just a person that you don't know. Stranger in an elevator. I really believe that there's information or wisdom that can be transferred from one person to another person without any real, conscious language or communication. And I believe that because I've experienced it before. I've experienced it in short interactions and also in long-term interactions. I had a boyfriend that I was with for several months. I don't know, maybe a year. He was just like a really odd pick for me. We were really different. I don't think my mom understood why I was ever with that guy for so long, but we actually lived together. And I learned so much from him. He understood things about love and about life that I didn't understand. And he did not articulate those things to me. And I didn't really understand them in any conscious kind of way. I just felt like I was absorbing some of his understanding, his wisdom, without any over communication. So strangers, I think strangers are awesome. I also really have a problem with strangers because they're in my way. They're walking in front of me very slowly and they're causing chaos. When strangers out in the world cause me chaos, that's a problem for me. When I feel like they're not using common sense. But at the same time, there's just these little micro connections. There are these tiny, intimate moments that happen with, a postal worker or the person at the grocery store. And it happens all the time. And I love those moments. And I love that they're transient. And I love that I may never see this person again, or that I may see them again, but it's never going to be super deep or complicated. There aren't going to be strings attached. We're just like sharing humanity. I don't know, something I've just been thinking about lately.